For most of human history, the icy continent at the bottom of the world was an unknown, unvisited place. Humans discovered Antarctica only about 200 years ago.
Antarctica holds secrets that are more shocking than anyone could imagine. Beneath its icy surface, scientists have discovered hints of other worlds and ancient marine DNA that could turn our understanding of history on its head. What if the ice is hiding truths that could shake our very notion of the past? Let us uncover what the government is desperately trying to keep hidden in Antarctica, discovering the hidden wonders. Antarctica is often thought of as just a big frozen land at the bottom of the Earth, mostly known for its ice and penguins. However, what has been discovered there is far more interesting. Antarctica is not just a cold and empty place, it holds secrets that have amazed scientists. From finding evidence of other possible worlds to discovering ancient marine DNA, it is full of surprises. As researchers dug deeper beneath the ice, what they unearthed next could rewrite the history of our planet, pointing to a mystery buried for millennia, waiting in the frozen silence to be unveiled. One interesting fact is the existence of a small town in Antarctica called Villa Las Estrellas. It is a Chilean station located on King George Island. Life there is tough, and one strict rule is that anyone living there must have their appendix removed before moving in. This is because the nearest big hospital is more than 600 miles away across a dangerous ocean. If someone had a medical emergency like a burst appendix, it could be life-threatening. To avoid this, Chile requires people, including children, to have this surgery before living there long-term. The town is home to about 100 people in the summer and even fewer in the winter. Despite the harsh conditions, they have a school, post office, supermarket, and even a gift shop. Another fascinating discovery is the potential evidence of a parallel universe. An experiment in Antarctica, known as ANITA, was set up to study cosmic particles. During the experiment, something strange happened. Particles were found coming out of the Earth, which should not be possible. Normally, these particles cannot pass through the planet. This has led to the idea that these particles might be from a parallel universe where time flows backward, a place where events happen in reverse order. These discoveries show that there is still so much mystery in the world, and Antarctica holds many of them. The more scientists explore, the more they realize there are still many unknowns waiting to be uncovered. Imagine there might be other worlds that aren't too different from ours, and some that are completely different, ruled by strange laws of nature. If the idea of many universes is real, it could mean that countless versions of us exist, shaped by the different choices we've made. It's really mind-blowing to think about. In the freezing waters near Antarctica, there's a fascinating fish called the ice fish. What makes it so unique is that its blood is clear, which is something no other known vertebrate has. Usually animals have red blood because of hemoglobin, the protein that carries oxygen. But ice fish don't have hemoglobin at all. They live in these harsh, icy waters by absorbing oxygen directly from the water through their skin and gills. They have large hearts and blood vessels to help with this. Even more interesting, they produce a special protein that stops their blood from freezing, letting them survive in waters that are colder than ice. But that's not all happening in Antarctica. There's also a mysterious creature known as the Ningan. Stories about it first appeared in the early 2000s, told by Japanese researchers. This creature is said to be up to 98 feet long and looks somewhat human, with limbs and a head. People have been fascinated and wondering if it's some kind of secret or an undiscovered species related to sea creatures. Yet even with all the talk, very few people have actually seen the Ningan. Now what if I told you that a retired satellite made a shocking discovery under Antarctica's ice? It turns out there's a hidden continent. Data from the European Space Agency's satellite showed that ancient landmasses called cratons are buried under the ice. These cratons are leftovers from a supercontinent called Gondwana, which included places like India, Australia, and Africa. Over 160 million years ago, Gondwana broke apart and these pieces drifted to where they are now, hidden under Antarctica's ice. Let's explore the hidden wonders of our world, where every minute reveals something new. Discoveries beneath the ice. Objects are resting beneath the thick ice of Antarctica. Now, new data, surprisingly provided by an old satellite, continues to improve our understanding of Earth. Art that is 118 years old can be found in various places worldwide, even in remote locations. 7 years ago, a 118-year-old watercolor of a dead bird was discovered in an Antarctic shelter buried under dust, mold, and penguin droppings. This remarkable painting was created by Dr. Edward Wilson, a British explorer, scientist, and artist who died in Captain Robert Falcon Scott's doomed Terra Nova expedition in the year 1912. Josephine Berger Kinez, a paper conservator with the New Zealand Antarctic Heritage Trust, found the painting while organizing a paper portfolio inside a bunk at Cape Adare. It is likely that Dr. Wilson brought the artwork with him in the year 1911, though there is a possibility he painted it earlier while recovering from tuberculosis in Europe. The cold, dark conditions of the hut helped preserve it in great condition. A fossil that is 66 million years old was found in Antarctica. Initially, it puzzled researchers for nearly a decade. It was eventually identified as a deflated sea lizard egg discovered in the year 2011. When first found, it was a large deflated sac about the size of a football. Its unusual appearance didn't match any known fossils. After extensive research, scientists from the University of Texas at Austin determined it was likely an egg belonging to a mosasaur, a giant marine reptile from the dinosaur era. Unlike the hard-shelled dinosaur eggs, this egg had a soft, leathery texture, similar to those laid by modern snakes and lizards, suggesting a connection to dinosaurs. Now, a 106-year-old fruitcake was discovered in the year 2017 in Antarctica, surprisingly still intact and edible. It was found by conservators from the New Zealand-based Antarctic Heritage Trust during restoration efforts at Cape Adare. The fruitcake, made by the British company Huntley & Palmer, was in a rusty tin that had slightly deteriorated on the outside, but the cake inside was nearly perfect. The tin was located in a hut used by the northern party of Robert Falcon Scott's Terra Nova expedition. Fruitcake was a popular choice for explorers at that time due to its high energy content and ability to last in harsh conditions, though it might not have been the most appealing option. Now, a giant jellyfish was spotted near Antarctica. This incredible sighting occurred aboard a luxury cruise ship and was identified as the giant phantom jellyfish, one of many fascinating marine creatures found in the deep ocean. Imagine discovering an underwater world for the first time and learning about the amazing creatures that live there. One of these creatures is a special kind of jellyfish that usually lives deep in the ocean, more than 3,000 feet down. If we see these jellyfish closer to the surface, it could be a sign that something's wrong, either with the ocean or the jellyfish itself. This jellyfish, called the giant phantom jellyfish, is truly unique. It has a bell-shaped body like an umbrella and 4 long arms that can stretch up to 33 feet. These arms aren't just for looks. They help the jellyfish catch food in the dark depths of the ocean. Even though this jellyfish lives in oceans all over the world, seeing one is very rare. In fact, there have been fewer than 130 sightings, making each one a special event. Now we turn to a surprising part of Antarctica where even penguin poop tells an important story. Exposing penguin mysteries. Shifting gears, let's talk about something a little more unexpected: penguin poop in Antarctica. There are a lot of penguins in the South Pole, and where there are penguins, there's a lot of waste. In some areas of Antarctica, you can even see pink-colored patches from space. This happens because penguins eat a lot of krill, which turns their poop pink. In places with large penguin colonies, the amount of pink poop is huge. Scientists use satellite images to spot these pink areas, which helps them track how many penguins live there and where they are. This technology is really helpful in studying penguin populations and understanding the Antarctic ecosystem. In fact, thanks to this poop, scientists have even discovered new penguin colonies that no one knew about before. Penguin poop has another interesting side effect. Because it's full of nitrogen, when it breaks down in the soil, it creates nitrous oxide. You might know nitrous oxide as laughing gas, the stuff dentists use. It turns out that spending too much time near big penguin colonies can actually make you feel a bit dizzy or even a little giddy because of all the nitrous oxide in the air. This is just one of the surprising things scientists have learned while studying these charming but impactful creatures. Recently, a fascinating piece of history was uncovered in Antarctica. A set of old photograph negatives from Ernest Shackleton's famous expedition to the South Pole were found frozen in ice. These pictures had been sitting inside a block of ice at Captain Robert Falcon Scott's hut in Cape Evans, Antarctica, for over 100 years. The negatives give us a rare look into Shackleton's adventures on the icy continent. There were 22 photographs in total, and they offer a glimpse into the tough conditions faced by explorers back then. It's amazing how these photos have survived all this time, giving us a window into the past of polar exploration. After careful thought and planning, these photographs give a clear view of Shackleton's daily life. They show the crew going about their usual tasks, their temporary shelters, and the cold, harsh environment that was both their home and their biggest challenge. These pictures provide historians and those interested in the past with a rare and valuable look into what life was like during Shackleton's expedition. Now, imagine losing your wallet. That's stressful, right? But what if you lost it in Antarctica? Getting it back would seem nearly impossible. However, that's exactly what happened to Paul Grisham, a Navy weather expert who lost his wallet at McMurdo Station and got it back 53 years later. During a demolition of a building in 2014 at McMurdo Station, the wallet was found, still in good shape thanks to the freezing cold. Inside were several personal items that told a story of Grisham's time at the South Pole. His Navy ID, driver's license, a beer ration card, tax papers, and even a homemade Kahlua recipe were tucked inside. But that's not the craziest part. The journey to return the wallet was a long one. Once the wallet was found, it went through the hands of several people and organizations, all working to track down its owner. Even though Grisham's full name was on it, finding him wasn't easy. It took the help of a group called the Old Antarctic Explorers Association based in California to finally get the wallet back to him. When the wallet made its way to Grisham, who was 91 years old by then, he was deeply touched. He couldn't believe that the wallet had survived the tough Antarctic conditions and still looked pretty good, but more than that, it brought back a flood of memories for him. Grisham had spent 13 months in Antarctica during the Cold War, and the return of his wallet reminded him of that significant time in his life. Moving on, we dive into Antarctica's icy mysteries and the surprising discoveries beneath its surface. The wallet's world trekking odyssey, yet the most incredible part wasn't just the return of the wallet itself, but the journey it had taken through time and across the world. Back in 2016, scientists found a huge gap in the sea ice of Antarctica right in the Weddell Sea. This gap, known as a millennia, was really big, about double the size of New Jersey. This kind of thing isn't entirely new to those studying the poles, but the sheer size and sudden appearance of this millennia caught everyone off guard. The researchers scratched their heads trying to figure out why this big hole in the ice had popped up. They later realized that a combination of wind patterns, ocean currents, and the saltiness of the water were key factors. Millennias usually happen when warm, salty water from deep in the ocean comes up, warming the surface and melting the ice. In this case, a specific set of conditions lined up perfectly. Strong winds, part of what's called the Weddell Gyre, really did a number. They pushed the warm water from the ocean's depths to the top. As this warm water hit the cold surface, it started melting the ice fast, creating a big patch of open water among the ice. The extra salty water helped too. Since saltier water is heavier, it sinks, which brings more warm water up to keep melting the ice. But this wasn't the worst part. This melting and mixing kept going, preventing the sea from freezing over again quickly, which meant the millennia stayed open much longer than usual. Through all this, scientists got a much better grip on how Antarctic ice works and how the ocean and air around it interact. Then, in 2018, another big discovery shook things up. Researchers from the Alfred Wegener Institute drilled through about 656 feet of ice in the southeastern Weddell Sea near Neumayer Station 3. They used hot water to drill down to the ocean underneath the ice. What they found was pretty wild. A bustling community of 77 different species living down there, including moss animals and all kinds of unique worms. This was a shock because everyone thought that part of the world was just a frozen wasteland. Yet here they were, finding life thriving in the cold, dark depths. Some life forms have learned to live in places where there's no sunlight at all. Instead of using sunlight, they get their nutrients from the tiny amounts carried by ocean currents under thick ice. If creatures can survive in such tough places, it makes us think that life could also exist in similar conditions, like in space. This gives us hope that life could be out there in the universe too. A man was using Google Earth when he noticed something strange near Antarctica. A shape that looked like a 400-ton ship stuck in the ice. The image quickly spread online and people started talking about it, saying it looked like a big boat with parts that resembled the front, middle, and back of a ship. This area of Antarctica sometimes shows odd shapes because of its unique weather, but the fact that it looks so much like a real ship made some people doubt it was just ice. Some think it could be proof of an ancient civilization, a secret government project, or even something from another world. But most scientists believe it's simply a big block of ice shaped by Antarctica's extreme weather. The ice in this area changes all the time and can sometimes look like things people have made, but since no one has seen this ice ship up close, no one really knows what it is for sure. Next, we look back in time, uncovering ancient secrets frozen deep within Antarctica's ice. Rediscovering a pre-ice age ecosystem. What some call ancient air might sound odd, but it's just what it says, air from a long time ago. Scientists found air from the 1870s trapped deep in the ice of Antarctica, over 194 cubic feet of it. These samples are like a time capsule, giving us a peek into what Earth's atmosphere was like over the last 150 years. This old air got trapped when snow piled up and turned into ice, capturing tiny bubbles of air. By studying these bubbles, researchers can learn more about how our atmosphere has changed over time. Throughout history, scientists have studied the levels of gases like carbon dioxide and methane, along with other small elements from times much older than when we first learned how to measure them. This helps us see how much humans have changed the Earth's atmosphere over time. In the year 202, researchers made an exciting discovery. They found a 40-million-year-old frog fossil in Antarctica. This frog lived at a time when Antarctica was much warmer and full of different kinds of wildlife. It was discovered on Seymour Island, a place where many fossils have been found. Interestingly, this frog belongs to a group that still lives in South America today. This tells us that Antarctica was once connected to South America and had a mild, comfortable climate, unlike the cold and icy environment we see now. Back then, Antarctica was covered in forests and home to a wide range of plants and animals, including marsupials, reptiles, and amphibians. 40 million years ago, there were rivers and lakes on the continent, which made it a perfect place for many creatures to live. As more fossils are discovered, we get a better understanding of what life in Antarctica was like all those years ago. But that wasn't the only discovery. In addition to the frog, scientists also found fossils of a reptile that looked a lot like an iguana. This reptile lived 250 million years ago in Antarctica. Even though it looked fierce, this ancient reptile, known as the Antarctic King, was related to dinosaurs and lived during a time when Antarctica was still warm. The Antarctic King, also called Antares, probably ate insects, amphibians, and maybe some of the earliest mammals. It was one of the top predators of its time. This discovery, along with others, helps us learn more about the climate and ecosystems that existed in Antarctica long before it turned into the frozen land we know today. In the freezing mountainous region of Antarctica, scientists came across fossils of a creature called the Antarctic King. These fossils were buried in the Transantarctic Mountains and have helped researchers learn more about how life came back after a huge disaster known as the Permo-Triassic extinction. This disaster wiped out almost 90% of all species on Earth. The survival of this small reptile was incredibly important. It belonged to a group called the archosaurs, which later evolved into dinosaurs, birds, and crocodiles. Without this little creature, the world we live in today might look completely different. In another interesting discovery, a drone flying over Antarctica captured a strange photo. The drone spotted odd shapes moving along a dangerous path in the icy wilderness. This sighting added to the list of unexplained things seen in this remote area. Some people thought these shapes looked like ape-like creatures, maybe even similar to Bigfoot, that had somehow adapted to the freezing Antarctic conditions. Others wondered if they could be visitors from another world. In the year 2022, scientists shared exciting news about a remarkable find, the oldest marine DNA ever recorded. This DNA, over 1 million years old, was found in deep-sea sediment in the Scotia Sea near Antarctica. This discovery gives us a glimpse into the ancient history of ocean life and how it has evolved over millions of years. The fact that this DNA was preserved in such a harsh place is amazing. It offers a rare opportunity to study the genetic makeup of sea creatures that lived long before humans even existed. This research could help us understand how marine life has changed and predict what might happen to species today. Antarctica continues to be a treasure trove of scientific discoveries, even though it's often overlooked. Beyond the penguins, this icy land is full of hidden secrets. Each new discovery not only helps us understand our planet better, but also leaves us with more questions about what else might be lying beneath this frozen landscape. What do you think about the potential implications of studying ancient marine DNA on our understanding of climate change? Comment with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe for more intriguing discussions.